Welcome back to Bad Attitude C10. Today we're going to discuss the 20-gallon fuel cell a little bit that I purchased for the truck, and as you can see it has the standard plastic filler neck on it that comes with most fuel cells. Well, I opted to upgrade to an aluminum one that has a lot nicer cap, and I did go ahead and remove it and didn't video it because hey, it's just taking out the hardware and removing it. So what I did do is, if you notice, I went on ahead and hooked the sending unit up to my gauge panel because I was wanting to be sure that the sending unit worked properly with my gauges. Now the crazy thing about this is, I'm going to show you right here, it was at 99 and I pushed the sending unit down as far as it would go, and you can see the number slowly going down, and this is time lapsed by 4. So it actually took even longer than what you're watching right now. So it was kind of cool because with it having the delay in it, if you hit a bump or something like that, or make a sharp turn, it's not going to have the gauge fluttering around and flickering and stuff. It's going to hold steady because it's kind of like on a delay. So the lowest it went down to was about 47, and I did put a little pressure on it and held it still. And when I put a little pressure on it and held it still, as you can see, the gauge is going down right now, and I stopped and it got down to 41, and it's still going to sit here and work for a minute. And as you'll see, not touching it, it's just in there, and the delay's still going, and it just clicked 40. So now, since I'm not holding the pressure and it went down, it should start going back up on its own. As you can see, now it's back up to 41, 42, and climbing. And so you get the spiff of it. So for some reason, when you push it all the way down, it goes to 46, 47 and no lower unless you put pressure on it. So I'm going to show you something that's a little crazy. So watch this. So now, if you watch the gauge, I pushed it back down and I'm not touching anything, and you notice my number is slowly going down. So we're in the 30s without me doing anything, into the 20s, 24. So this is a lot better than what we had a minute ago, and it's still steadily falling. So this could be good news. The bad news is, once we hit 10, that was the magic number and it stalled. So I was like, well, what the hell? So hang on one second, and I was going to try one other thing and see what happened. And I repositioned some stuff, and I put pressure on it again, and it holds steady at 10, and that was it. So that's pretty much telling me it's gonna read 10, and I'm gonna show you exactly what's going on with this. So here's what we did. Using a voltmeter or multimeter, whichever way you want to say it, and going to ohms, which some people say looks like an omega signal or symbol or a horseshoe, I'm going to probe the sending unit and show you the resistance that it has. So I'm going to take my leads first, and as you can see right now, it shows it's OL, which nothing's going on with it. So now I'm going to touch the two leads together, and you're going to see it zero out. So now we're zeroed out, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply the red lead to the yellow wire of the sending unit and the black to the green. And now we're actually going to use the multimeter and act like it's showing the resistance instead of the gauge being hooked up. It's actual multimeter. So it's got 40 ohms of resistance at rest. Now if I push down on it, it drops down as low as 32.9, and you see it moves a little quicker than the gauge did because it doesn't have any delay. So if I pull it all the way back up, you see it shoot up to the 99.5, and it did peak at at 100 at one point. So then I push it back down as low as it goes, and again it stops at the 32.9. So this is telling me that the sending unit that was supposed to be in the tank, they said, was a 0 to 90, which is standard. But how this one's showing, I got it to 100 here, and now I reposition it and it goes down to 9.1. So it's pretty much going to be a 10 ohm to 100 ohm. So that means no matter what I do, my gauge when on empty is going to still read 10%. So seeing how when I drive my stuff, whether it be the van, a car, or anything like that, I usually put fuel in it at about a quarter of a tank anyway. It's not a big deal. But again, as you can see, I got it peaked out, and with me holding pressure on it, 99, and if I let it go and bottom out, it goes down to 9.1 again, and that's where it stays. Now, the fluctuation that was going on to earlier, where you saw it wouldn't go to the 9 was due to an issue that we were having. And right here, I'm showing you the travel of the transition from top to bottom of the sending unit. You see the number scrolling a little faster again because no delay. So to kind of recap this, you see we're at 9 again, and I'm going to show you one more time. If I reposition this and get it set up and then push it down, it sticks to the 32.9 again, and that's where it stays and that's where it's living. Now some might be like, oh, it's because the tank's standing on its side, but guys, I'm putting pressure on it, and even putting pressure on it and pushing down, it still does not go any lower. So I mean, even going to 25, pushing it down, I take, you know, pressure off of it and it goes right back up, it's got an issue, and I'm about to show you what's going on. So hang tight. So kudos to any of y'all who might have this figured out already, but I'm about to show you the culprit. And it's kind of a pain in the butt to get in there and everything, but I'm going to get this and I'm going to show you what's going on. So when I purchased this cell, they did say that it had foam in it and it was supposed to be E85 compatible and everything, but guys, I've never ran foam in a cell. It has done nothing to me except cause heartache and put trash in my system and stopped up filters and made the car stop running and everything else, and it's just a headache. So anytime I buy a fuel cell, whether it's a metal, aluminum, plastic, or whatever it may be, it comes out. And as you can look, this piece of foam that they had in this cell is useless anyway. It's about 1.5 inches. And I mean, guys, look at the cell. This foam in a 20-gallon cell is useless. There's no need for it. And I know a lot of y'all are going to be like, oh yeah, but they say they can blow up without the foam and it dissipates, you know, the explosion and will dampen it. Guys, if you got a fuel tank and it's got that much heat on it or pressure and it's going to explode, this little piece of shit foam is not going to make any bit of difference. I beg to differ with what a lot of people have out there and are saying, but I mean, I went to school for firefighting and everything else, and I know what a blevy is, and I know everything, you know, about that, you know. Dude, I'm dumbfounded by a lot of what you read. So I'm going to tell you, in my experience, and you can take this as you want, and I've given you measurements right here of the cell itself so you can see how actually big the cell is versus that piece of foam. Here's the deal. They nowadays have foam, and you can look at the different price ranges in here, and they say that they can be used with gasoline, they can be used with, you know, E85 and alcohol, but the thing about it is the benefits. Some people say, hey, look, it prevents fuel vapor and air from concentrating. Hey, it reduces sloshing. You know, they say the amount that you need, it varies too. Some manufacturers say 40 to 50%, some say 75%, some say 80. How many of y'all have ran this style fuel tank in a C10 pickup from back in the day, 67, 372, in the cab right behind you? Guess what? No foam, no baffles. I mean, nothing. And how many of them exploded? You know, how many of y'all used to have these 5-gallon metal, you know, fuel cell, or fuel tank, should I say, military use them? How many of y'all have these 5-gallon racing fuel jugs? How many of y'all have bought racing fuel in a 5-gallon metal container? Various companies offer it. And then you get into how they're toting them across the country in 55-gallon metal drums. I mean, how many of these actually have foam in them? In my opinion, guys, I removed the foam. It's a headache. It causes nothing but issues. So what you're going to see me do now is I'm going to clean up my fuel cell and I'm going to vacuum it to be sure there's no remnants of that foam, because I do not want that little black shit to stop up a filter, cause issues or restriction in my fuel system, and ruin a brand new engine, all because it has a useless piece of shit foam in it. Now, if you guys believe in running foam, by all means, more power to you. But as far as me, I'm not going to do it. So here's a little peek inside. So there you can see the arm for the sending unit and the sending unit itself. And I'm going to try to get a better view of the sump for you. And as you can see, no baffles, nothing at all. So people are saying, oh, you're going to starve it. But look at here. It actually has a 6-inch by 6-inch sump. So it's not got a flat bottom cell. It actually has a sump that is lower. So since I run an external fuel pump and I will ground my cap, which you can see here, I mean, guys, I run a vent on it too as well, so it doesn't pressurize. If vapor needs to be pushed out, if pressure builds up in my cell, with the vent tube being on it, it's going to push any vapor and pressure straight out. Now, here's what we have. You had a regular style flange bolt that used to hold the plastic tank on, and it went through the top and it screwed into a ring. Now, the thing bad about this is, you know, the ring that's inside that this screws into or threads into, whichever way you want to say it, looks kind of like this. And I want to make note, guys, if you feel this, there are edges on one side, the other side has been deburred. Put the deburred flat side against the cell. That way it's got a better chance at sealing. So whenever you put it in, try to have the deburred finished side coming in. Now here's what you got to look at. If you had the plastic filler next to it, you can stick your hand in here and hold the nut, you know, and tighten the top up with a ratchet and put a wrench on the nut on the bottom and you bolt it down. But with this new filler neck, my hand ain't going to fit through that little ass hole. So I'm going to show you what I do. So here's what we got. Believe it or not, they furnished the hardware with the new filler neck, and it comes with the bolts, a little like nylon washer or sealing ring, whichever one you want to call it, and it comes with nylock nuts. Now guys, I'm not the smartest person on the planet, but how in the hell are you supposed to put a bolt through this cap and on the inside of this cell hold a nylock nut? I don't get that. So I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to use the original ring for my original plastic cap, and I'm going to use the longer bolts, and I'm going to make sure the side that has the burrs on it is going to be on the bottom side with the head of my net, and that, or should I say the head of my bolt, sorry, and the finished side is going to go toward the tank. So I'm going to thread 4 of these guys through, and I generally just throw them in. I don't space them any particular way. The only thing is where the split ring is, I do put 2 of the nuts or bolts side by side there, so I got 2 nuts side by side. So if I want to run a daisy chain and ground strap it in 2 spots or something like that, I can pretty easily do it. Now, once I put them on, I do snug them down, and these took a 10mm socket or ratchet. Just do not over tighten them, because these things sometimes are a little flimsy and they can bow the ring. The reason I only use 4, sometimes 5 of these bolts is because sometimes it's a headache trying to get these to go through. And since I'm actually utilizing the rubber gasket that was already on the tank and it's been compressed, I figured if I tried to put the bolts through every one of these holes, if I did need to over drill my tank so they would all fit in right, I could ruin my gasket. So I just put 4 in it and made sure the cap fit all right, and then I took one of the little sealing washers and put it on, and then I started a nylock nut in 4 different locations. And this, guess what, already has the ring to where all the other holes are going to line up just fine. So I'm going to time lapse getting these other, you know, sealing washers on and the nuts, and then after that, using just the bolts and the sealing washers that were furnished with the cap, I'm going to go ahead and just put everything in and tighten this thing up. So here we go, guys. Long bolt, sealing washer, bam, fill up the rest of the hose, and let's roll. Now guys, I can't say this enough, and I am going to say it one more time. This is what I do and how I do things, in my opinion, on the whole foam thing in a tank. If you want to run foam, run the foam. I'm just letting you know, in the past it's caused issues with clogging filters and tearing up pumps, and I do not and cannot afford to tear up this new engine that's going in this truck. Not only have I firsthand experienced it, I've messed with the same issues on friends' cars that I help tune for other people, and it's just, from my actual hands-on experience, foam has been nothing but a headache. So if you ran foam with success and you like using it, use it by all means. Again, strictly my opinion, my car, and I'm not going to have foam in my cell. So to each their own, and hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. I'm going to go ahead and finish tightening all these up and snugging them down, and as you can tell, I bounced all the way around, and me being the way that I am, I did notice that I did not space the bolts that actually have the nuts on the top. in the right configuration, so they're gapped incorrectly. But you know, oh well, nobody else is going to see it. Who cares? It's going to be under the bed of the truck, or should I say under the bed cover of the truck. So here's you a little glimpse of what it looks like. The cap comes on and off easy. It's a lot less headache than the little plastic filler neck. You don't have to worry about the gasket on the plastic filler neck going out, nothing like that. And as you can see, the sump, you know, the two dash 10 fittings on the bottom have caps on them, and it's a clean little tank, nice little tank. And until next time, I'll see you later.